Welcome to the DFIRmas podcast. This is a seasonal short series podcast by Our Point Forensics, hosted by Amy Moles. In this episode, I'm joined by Jerry Bowie to discuss his journey into digital forensic consulting and expert testimony. Jerry is the founder and CEO of Right Forensics and a highly sought-after digital forensic expert with over 20 years experience. Corporations frequently rely on him for regulatory responses, trade secret disputes, and expert witness testimony in computer forensics. He serves as an external advisor to Interpol, contributing to Metaverse, forensics, and synthetic media programs, and has partnered with AARP to educate vulnerable populations on avoiding deepfake scams. Jerry also works with the Financial Services Volunteer Corps, providing technical assistance to digital investigators in Southern Africa. Known for his expertise, he is often requested for in-depth forensic examinations and serves as a court-appointed neutral to advance stalled cases in e-discovery. All right. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey into the field of digital forensics?
Yeah, sure. It's by accident. Like a lot of people who come in through the lit support side of things, which is where I came in through. I was tech first and then legal second. And just that overlap between tech and legal, which we call legal tech or lit support, it has a forensics aspect to it, right? And so since I was more technology oriented, it's preserving those data sources from devices and from the cloud that made me kind of the go-to resource for doing that. And that's how I picked up on digital forensics. Because if you look at my experience or any of my content on LinkedIn, you could tell I'm really plugged into the e-discovery industry.
So how did you get involved in private consulting side of it? Is it
Yeah,
just
yeah,
from litigation support right into it, or is that something
yeah.
totally separate?
No, it's litigation support right into it because I have only a career in the private sector consulting. I'm starting out in the early days with KPMG, which is one of the big four, and so I went from KPMG to Ernst and Young to PricewaterhouseCoopers, and was working in their forensic technology practice. I'm supporting e-discovery at times, doing digital forensics collections, and at other times doing more like proactive data analytics. So always been in that realm within the private sector and big four accounting firms, essentially.
Awesome. So I would imagine you just started out with your own consulting firm. So I'd imagine there's a huge transition that happens between working for a big four and then your own consulting firm. So can you kind of tell me what that transition looked like?
Yeah, probably very similar to you striking out on your own and being the co-founder and CEO of your business, where you probably had just a nagging feeling, something pulling at you always, and it always was in the back of my mind about just having some decision-making power and autonomy around my daily life, because I felt like I was building up enough experience, and especially in private consulting with client facing experience and knowing how to manage clients and their expectations and delivering on budget, et cetera, which is, I think a really big difference from law enforcement investigations. I mean, there's timelines and budgets there too, but not nearly as, I think, stressful and restrictive as it is in private sector consulting. So, it's just something that nagged at me. And, I was waiting for so long to feel ready for it. But as you know, you're never ready for it. And at some point, you just have to pull the trigger and go for it. And it's turned out really well, even though I'm only 3 months into it. All my worst fears have subsided. I think I'm getting everything that I had hoped for.
Yeah, so when I decided to start ArcPoint, I think
Yeah.
my son was like 3, 4 months old.
Oh
So I
boy.
was like kind of a crazy person. I was like sleep deprived, had no idea what I was doing,
Uh,
like brand new child.
yeah.
Like I was like, why did I do this? So I
Yeah.
know exactly how you feel. But
I bet you do.
also
Yeah.
you kind of like those worst fears, like when you first start out, when they
Yeah.
do happen, or if they even happen, you're like, well, I'm here and I don't really have any other choice right now. I
Right.
can either
Right.
pivot and figure out a solution or quit and just, get a stable
Yeah.
job and like in like consulting for somebody else or work for somebody else. So yeah, it's a little
You got to make
stressful.
it work. Yeah, and it's especially you with the courage to go into product. So it's not just software development, but it's also hardware. And so the combination between those two, you've asked for a really challenging, a challenging venture. I'm just services. I just sell hours. That's all I do. But I can't imagine, selling product. That's got to be, a huge adventure.
Yeah, adventure is, I feel like, a an underestimate because like just for us, like an understatement for sure, because when we kicked off 2 weeks later, COVID shut everything down. So you want to talk about timing? You're like, yo, like there's
Oh yeah,
no good time, there's no bad time.
yeah,
In our situation, I felt like there was probably a better time. Um, but it was
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
a learning moment. And I think it also gave us the opportunity to really like pivot, right? We pivoted, we found a new supply chain, we found,
yeah.
beta testers that we really wanted to test the product to go into that market set. And it allowed us to kind of like slow down and take our time to build this product out right, which I don't know if we would have done the
Yeah.
same process if COVID didn't shut everything down, but um, we had to get creative
Oh,
and resourceful. So, but yeah, it's scary. So when people are buying your services, are you like working from like a retainer and stuff like that? Because I know you had mentioned it's restrictive and there's a lot of
yeah.
pressure on that. What is the difference between law enforcement pressure and the consulting pressure in terms of funds?
Yeah. I mean, I think private sector consulting, you'll get much higher rates for what you do. So, luckily for me, having been plugged into the big four and having really top tier law firms and corporations within my network and within my relationship here, allowed me to still command some pretty impressive rates. So I think that's probably one major difference. And I didn't start the business, um, with a venture capitalist or private equity. This is bootstrapped with some close partners of mine who are essentially friends. And so, like any business, it's a matter of cash flow, right? But it's not a problem, luckily for us, with the revenue generating side of things. The cash flow issue is largely around the collection side of things, because if you know the e-discovery industry, well, it's a lot of middlemen. So from, all the way up front where there's the actual litigation and the law firms involved and the corporations that they work with that need to pay them, who need to pay, us as a vendor. And then we have to pay also, for our software licensing and any subcontractors that we use. And, it's all timing. And if you have more outflows than inflows on any given month, and you've got payroll and the office lease and all those expenses, it could be a crunch. And even within the 3 months, while we're, haven't been in danger, and we've gotten awfully close. It's a balancing act, and we're not fully into a position yet where, I can buy all the software I want all at once so that they're all co-termed, which is, well, for some people it's ideal. Other people like to pay their software licenses throughout the year so that it doesn't come all at once. But it's just, a management problem when it comes to those sorts of things. And so I have to buy what I can afford at the time that I need it for any given matter. So it's a lot of the business side of the house and all of that kind of financial juggling, that makes it, and doing it myself as an entrepreneur and along with my partners, is always kind of like kind of like emergency meetings here and there when needed in order to make things happen. So I don't know, budgeting on the law enforcement side, I guess because it's through a kind of government agency, that you have a budget and you just kind of outline it every beginning of the year, and then it's pretty predictable from that standpoint. Where there's a lot of, I think, unpredictability when it comes to being an entrepreneur, but also at the same time, it gives you some, when you have a good, when you have a good income or inflow of money, then you can reinvest it strategically at that time. You don't have to wait an entire year before you make those decisions. You can make them, on a quarter by quarter basis, or even on a shorter term basis, depending on how you want to attack the market opportunistically.
Yeah, there's a lot less red tape for sure and flexibility there. So you're testifying a lot in
Yeah,
court. You just testified last week and you're in
yeah.
another state right now, right? Testifying?
Right. I was on the East Coast 2 weeks ago, and now I'm on the West Coast. So I'm in sunny California here. I won't say where exactly, but I am on the West Coast getting ready for trial on Tuesday. I'll be prepping tomorrow on Monday.
Well, I just want to say that it is extremely intimidating to ever hear like, oh, I'm testifying in court or oh, I'm going to be an expert like witness and stuff like that. It sounds so intimidating and scary. So
Yeah.
how do you prepare? Like how do you like mentally like calm your nerves? How are you preparing like all the facts and stuff like that going into court? What is
Yeah,
your
it's a team
secrets? Tell
effort.
us everything.
It's yeah, yeah. It's a team effort. I mean, hopefully you're working with a case team and a law firm that will allocate the necessary time to spend with you. They've got a lot of different priorities. And so, I always appreciate it, even though I've testified so many times now, maybe over a dozen times in live court and, over 30 times maybe in a deposition or by Zoom court, by virtual. But it is intimidating and it is stressful. But the more prep that you can do, even as experienced as you are, you need to get like the fact pattern straight and focus on things that matter to the case strategy, and then being able to also predict what you're going to get under cross examination. You get a taste of it during the deposition, but things change and new facts come out. I mean, productions are being made even at the 11th hour, and you understand what the opposing expert is trying to attack, and you've got to put your rebuttals together and present the best case you can. So it's a lot of organization and prep time, and and it comes at great expense. So part of what I do too as an expert witness isn't just collecting these high consulting rates, but also giving away my time for some percentage in order to do pro bono work and really allow for access to justice so that litigants that aren't necessarily Fortune 500 companies or Am Law 200 law firms can afford high quality forensics work.
Yeah. So how many hours does it take for you to prep for testimony?
It
Like on
depends. It
average?
depends on, yeah, on the complexity, and also what you're up against, because you get a preview of everything through deposition transcripts and rebuttal reports, and there's always a um, a narrow scope under which you're operating, whether it's a scope that you're under or the other side is under, because you can't really come into court with like surprises. There isn't really as many Perry Mason moments as people might think. It's really just explaining to the court things that you've already said under oath, whether it's through a sworn statement or a report or some kind of deposition. It's putting that stuff and organizing it in a sensible way so that it's really more of an explanatory exercise than what others might think. So getting organized and prepared is the key there, because once you're in there, it's just really executing on that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you have a case that you like a case that sticks out to you or a favorite case that you've had that you've testified?
Yeah, I really can't say much about them. Some of the stuff is on public record, but um, you know, when I feel like I made a difference, there's some, cases where the forensics doesn't make that much of a difference and it's more of just like going through the motions. But others, it's consequential. So for those matters where, the judge in his opinion or in his ruling really references my testimony, the strength of my testimony, so that it really impacted and influenced his ultimate ruling or opinion. That's really what sticks out to me, because then I really feel like I'm adding value, and because I really focus and try my best when I'm hired as an expert, and I want to make sure I'm not just doing my job but making a difference. And a lot of this technology can go over the jury's head, the judge and jury's head, or whoever the trier of fact is, and you want to make sure that you're meeting them where they are. You don't want to underexplain and you don't want to overexplain, because a lot of times there's a time limit under which you can make your case.
Yeah, I'd imagine there's a really fine line to be able to explain a very technical concept to a non-technical audience where you're not in
Yeah,
the weeds. And I bet it's challenging too when you feel like you have to be in the weeds to explain whatever this concept is. So in those situations, how do you tackle that?
good point. Demonstratives. So you got to make visuals. So it's those exhibits or those other things that you bring in the court to explain it. And I'm kind of looking forward to the day when you can do some of this stuff in VR, right? So kind of anticipating that wave of technology will make its way into the jury room or into the jury box and into the judge's bench where you can do these explanations not just digitally, which is like more common these days, but also in 3D and virtual reality. I think hopefully those things with strong enough visuals can really make an impact.
Do you have an example, like a vision of what you see with VR in the courtroom? Like, yes,
Yeah,
like
I
you have
haven't
an
done it
examples of how you can
myself.
step through, but like,
Yeah, like accident reconstructions. You can imagine what impact that'll have on being able to recreate, for example, like an not automobile accident in a intersection. Especially you can seeing it from all different viewpoints, maybe even leveraging video that was caught from, the traffic light camera or some nearby business, but being able to model it so that you can capture with accuracy the different vantage points and how it occurred and playing through that video. I think that's pretty impressive. I don't do that sort of testimony, and most of my stuff in the private sector is like white collar crime, insider threat type of things, but not personal injury or automobile accidents or anything like that. But you can imagine if you're a construction expert and it has something to do with architecture or the way something's built, like bridges and things like that, you can really model those objects from real life and zoom in on it and even and spin around certain things that demonstrate what you're trying to prove. For us, I mean, in computer forensics, yeah, VR, I don't imagine like flying through the inside of like a computer or a simulated cloud would have
we are
much
on the
impact.
motherboard.
Right? This is the motherboard, and we're doing it's just like this is how the electrons are moving through the USB port. It's like, yeah, that's a little, but
Too much, too
I
much
don't
scale
have
it
an
back.
exact. Yeah, 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 exactly. But I can imagine in some scenarios it might make sense. Especially in coordination with other experts, because usually in complex litigation, you're not the only expert. You're part of a team of experts, and so the computer forensics side of the house. I mean, we're looking at logs and artifacts and things like that, and so you're right. I don't have a perfect vision of what it would look like in VR, if VR is going to be helpful at all. But all those technologies, AI and VR, are going to have some intersection with what we do. It's just a matter of who's the entrepreneur that's going to capitalize on those technologies and make a difference.
Well, we just put it out there for the public, so
Hey,
someone's got to go after it now.
yeah, they got to join our ranks. We do what we do, but someone else will have some kind of brilliant idea and maybe capitalize on it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who are just starting out, like more junior examiners and stuff like that, that have to testify, what is some advice you would give them?
Yeah, being called an expert is really like flattering for sure, and it can easily get to your head. Just gotta maintain some humility, I think. Like I said, you're there as an explainer. You're not there to impress really anyone. They're just the trier of fact is really trying to understand everything in order to make a fair decision. Justice is being served. So make sure you're there for that purpose and not the purpose of showing off. I think there's some people been gone up against in the courtroom have been really, I mean, they're impressive. Like they're like Jedis in the digital forensic industry. And just because I think they got caught up in, some really unnecessary detail, they did themselves a disservice on making their point or making the point for the case team, the trial team there. So I've seen things go like too far into the weeds in the wrong direction. Just keeping an open mind about using the right language and just watching for reactions. If you're the type of communicator that pays attention to other people's reactions, their body language, you know when you're talking over someone's head, or whether you need some additional explanation or the use of additional analogies. And then, things tend to fall apart on cross-examination um, when you're under pressure. They call it a hot seat for a reason. And so you need to be able to withstand their barrage. And they're not nice. Some of them are not friendly. They're,
Yeah.
if you are working for an AmLaw 20 law firm, the other side probably has another very expensive law firm that is hiring their own expensive experts who are good at what they do. And so the cross examinations, the redirects, all that stuff can create new unexpected situations where you need to be quick on your feet. And so my advice is to take some um, improv classes. So
Oh, interesting. Like
yeah, do you know
comedy.
what that is? Yeah, yeah, not like comedy,
Yeah,
but
like
it's more like
comedy, like
acting. Yeah,
improv.
yeah. It's not always comedy, but they have like acting improv where you get thrown in a situation and the people on stage need to like respond to it like um, spontaneously. So the reason why I think that I might be pretty good on the stand, I know the reason why I'm good on the stand is because I'm a theater kid. So I don't know if you've seen some of my posts on
Oh,
LinkedIn where like I'm like singing and rapping. I'm not, I'm not afraid to do any of those creative things, make a fool of myself. But it's for those same reasons that I can, react well on the stand and not fall apart under pressure. Is because I'm kind of used to the performative aspect of it. I mean, my philosophy or my thinking around this is that you know um, if you're a testifying expert witness, you have to be a good forensic examiner. But just because you're a
hmm.
good forensic examiner doesn't mean you're going to be a good testifying expert witness. If you know what I mean, it's a whole additive skill set that you need to learn. It's the communication, the speaking, the enunciation, the thinking quick on your feet, and not letting and not crumbling under that deposition or cross examination pressure. Because as soon as you start to sweat and lose your confidence, then you're not going to be able to get the explanatory information across to the people that need to hear it as effectively as you want.
I would have never guessed improv classes. I do follow you on Instagram and I love the
Oh,
videos
okay.
that you post. I think it's
Oh,
you and your
thanks.
wife. Like, it's just,
Oh, yeah.
you guys are hilarious. So,
Thanks. Thanks.
um,
Yeah, she
wow.
she
Yeah,
puts up with me.
I would be sweating immediately if someone was like, "Hey, could you be an expert witness?" I'd be like, "I'm sweating. I can't."
You've got to do it
I
a
just
bunch of
accepted
times,
the phone
though.
call and I
Yeah.
cannot.
Well, I wasn't great on my first few times. That's for sure. It takes practice, and it takes someone willing to work with you. So I luckily had partners at these law firms that understood it was my first, second, third, fourth time, and they gave me great advice. I mean, they've done it enough, and they learned this stuff in law school. And some of them are really amazing trial attorneys, and come to really appreciate what they do. And there are also similar in the sense that they have really good performative abilities. And I say performative, it's not like being like, like faking it or like being an attention hog in the court. It's just being able to express yourself and get things and just being able to like say what you intend to say. Because, oftentimes on even like podcasts like this, you might um, afterwards think, oh, I should have said this or I should have said that, right? It's just a matter of making sure you get all your points across in a way that isn't um, just isn't annoying. Because if you also have the type of personality that tends to annoy others, it'll annoy a judge and it'll annoy a jury. So there's a personality aspect to it too.
Well, I bet it helps to have like like mentors that can provide a mock type
Yeah.
of environment for testimony. I know in
Yes.
college, it was what was really helpful for me exiting my program and graduating was they had a ton of mock interviews that we did. So by the
Yep.
time I had my first interview, I was like solid. I wasn't nervous. I was just like, I'm just going to answer these questions and just keeping like this thought process, like whatever I say is outside of my control after this of how people are going to perceive it. I can just relay the
Yep.
information honestly and hopefully it gets across. Um, so I think that mentors are definitely, solid people to have in your life, especially if you're just starting out in your career, no matter what
I
industry,
agree.
really. So, what
100%.
do you think?
Yep.
And I'm just gonna go right over into like professional growth and personal development. But how
Sure.
do you say like you already stated that you've had mentors in the past and stuff like that? So,
Yep.
what do you think is like what got you to a significant achievement, and what is that achievement? Like, were those people along the way? Were those courses? Was it a little bit everything?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not big on awards, especially if they're kind of popularity contests. But sometimes um, whatever you know group you're in, there's sometimes some awards and just recognition, right? That will you know propel you to the next level of confidence. And it's just really like a career of these milestones, these recognition milestones that build your confidence and belief in yourself over time. And sometimes that's not from an external source. It's sometimes just you get to the point where you're just happy with um, with your own standards. And so that's where kind of I'm at right now, where it's a pretty lonely business, and too, even going from a employer to being an entrepreneur, running it gets real. It's not lonely really because we're probably cut out for it. It's more of like a solo journey sometimes, and you come to really learn how to pat yourself on the back and give yourself grace when you weren't able to be the best version of yourself. But gosh, I tell you what, I'm pretty proud of myself at times in isolation when no one even knows what my achievement was. So it's those little achievements that add up over time, not one singular achievement. There isn't like the best digital forensics examiner in the world award or ceremony that they give out every year, right? There isn't anything like that. So, there isn't really a single certification that really says, "Hey, you are allowed to go and do this or that." I mean, there is some legal requirements or regulatory requirements, like having your private investigator license, and some states that require it so that you can do the forensic analysis. But above and beyond that, I mean, that's just pretty like low stakes. It's not like a CPA for accountants, or a an MD for doctors, or the JD for lawyers. There isn't really that kind of standard, but you have to have some collection of standards and achievements. And if you follow Rule 26 2B, I think Federal Rules of Civil Procedure 26 2B, if you're testifying in federal court, there is actually a list of things that you have to put on your expert report or in your CV that includes like the speaking that you've done, the articles that you've written, and the testimony that you've provided for a certain number of years. And when you look back on that, like I do from time to time because I need to update it, you just need to be proud of yourself and proud of those things that you accomplished. Those articles that you wrote, or those speaking game engagements that you had, or those trials that you were able to contribute to, consequentially, that you're proud of. So it's a matter of your own integrity and level of celebration.
Yeah, I had a mentor tell me to create a list. Basically, on the list, you put down anything that you finish, something
Yep.
small, something big, whatever it is, right?
Yep.
And you would do it for the month, you would do it for the year, and then you would do it for like the week. And it depends on how you want to track that. So for me, I have a planner that I write everything down in, but I
Yeah.
have checklist items of what I absolutely need to achieve that week. And then it has like a review at the end of the month of like, what are your greatest accomplishments that you've done this month? And when you go back and actually look at the amount of work you did,
Yeah.
especially like when you're leading a team and owning your own business, you kind of get lost in the weeds a little bit of like the everyday grind that you don't,
Yep.
you kind of like just like, I'm just burned out and I just need another cup of coffee and I probably didn't accomplish anything this month. And then you look back
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, I actually did a lot of stuff this month. And it feels pretty
Yeah.
good to be able to just like look at the list and say, oh, this probably would have killed a normal person. But
Yeah.
yeah, here we
A
are.
lesser human being. Yeah.
Yeah, I always say that it takes a special person to branch out and run their own business. It's definitely not for the lighthearted at all.
How long have you
But
been running Our Point now?
we're going on our fifth year in January.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I can sincerely say that the first year was a blur. Like
Yeah.
minus the fact that I was sleep deprived from a newborn, but like also I don't know. And it's crazy because it goes by so fast and it's
Yeah.
wild at the same time because my son is 5. He just turned
Yeah.
5 and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like the company is going to be 5 because you're 5." And like ugh.
Oh yeah. That's a good way to track it. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like another baby.
he's grown with our point. Yeah, he's number one
Yeah.
employee.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I can't wait for five
Um
years from now. It's already a wild ride so far.
yeah, the really really fun thing too is so we have obviously a drive and stuff like that and
Yeah.
Microsoft has this like, oh, on this day, this happened, right? And they'll pull like from your pictures and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's some pictures I have of my son playing with the H-Row prototype that we were messing with.
Oh,
And
no
I'm
way.
like, that is so crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like on my dining room table, and there's just like stuff like just tech everywhere. And I'm like, man, things have changed because like now we have like we're on Gen 2 right now, and like he's playing soccer and dominating there, and the, like just like
Yeah.
chaos. I was like, oh my gosh, it's crazy to think about what can happen in 5 years in your career. But if you step back and like really be present for it, I think you can anybody, no matter what role you're in, you can like be proud of your accomplishments because I also feel like digital forensics is more of an individual. Like, yes, we're all
Yeah.
collaborative and we're all a part of this community and a part of a team normally, but it's kind of you're all working on separate cases. So
Yeah.
in that
Well,
type of
which is
environment, it's kind of
why
like
I think
singular.
I think for you know, entrepreneurs like me and you who are, within this field, um, we, share on social media, and so I'm obviously aware of of your growth too, and just doing things like posting about your fitness journey is also really cool to watch. You know what I mean? So it's like not just
Thank
documenting
you.
things
Appreciate that.
for yeah, so you're not just documenting privately, but for those people that are willing to build their companies in the open like we are, and put ourselves out there, it actually I think provides some level of not comfort, it's not the right word, but it's some level of camaraderie where it's like, hey, look at they're also experiencing what I experience. They're totally burnt out from travel, or they had this mishap or that mishap, or gosh, they get motivated because they want to also like pay attention to their own health. And if watching you juggle all these different things like family and business and fitness means that they can do it too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I agree 100%. Like, I think it's important to share not just the good stuff, right? The stuff
Hmm.
that is difficult to talk about because
Yeah,
someone's going to be having a bad day just like you did. And they know that they're also not alone. And when you first
exactly.
started too, I immediately reached out to you on LinkedIn and I was like, hey,
Yes, you did.
congratulations. If you need anything, if you like just need, a space to vent or
Yeah,
like just talk about anything, just let me know.
that was awesome.
Um, I
Yeah.
did not have that when I first started the company. I didn't have
Oh,
anybody
really?
reach out to me. Yeah, and I had other individuals where I asked them to be a mentor to me. Um,
Mm,
so of like people who are considered my competitor, right? But are running large
mm,
companies in the space. And it was really nice because a lot of them were like, absolutely, like this
yeah.
community is so giving. Like we just, I don't
Hmm.
know. It's
Yep.
nice. It's really nice. I don't think I
Yeah.
could run a business in any other industry. Definitely not fashion. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not really like hitting the target there with this thing, but
uh, Yeah, definitely not alone. I mean, you got to have some partners, close partners that you can rely on, but also the community interaction is super supportive within our field. And we're always learning from each other, and you start to learn some of the cultural norms, and some that you want to are motivated by, and some that you want to change, right? And so if you want to make it more friendly and open to newcomers, then you want to break down the gatekeeping tendencies within the industry, right?
absolutely.
And so all of us are fighting a fight for making the industry better, but everyone also has their own experience and their own opinions, which we can hash out between us, because that's essentially what expert witness testimony is about at the end of the day. It's a lot of really smart people with expert opinions that have to battle it out in court, right? It all gets adjudicated in court. And so that's a good kind of personality trait to build up, a little bit of thick skin, but knowing that everyone's trying to accomplish something for the better. And it's just, like I said in one of my posts, like justice is our North Star. There is a system that we're serving that has a consequential effect on people involved. So
Yeah.
I don't think we take it lightly.
And we shouldn't. I don't think we should.
Hmm.
So that's awesome. So just kind of going into the holiday season, this is a
Yeah.
festive um, podcast. So do you have any, I'm asking everybody who's on the show, so do you have any favorite holiday traditions that you like?
Oh, just cooking. I mean, just
Cooking?
helping out. Cooking. Yeah, cooking. Yeah, I mean, I do try to cook, and it's almost like digital forensics, understanding the ingredients and the procedures, and then also, when something's not working, even though everyone else says it works, you kind of invent something on your own, and you get creative. So I like the kind of, it's probably a terrible analogy, but yeah, it's being, getting into hobbies, any hobbies, but during the holidays in particular is cooking. I try to do the turkey or the prime rib, and you know um, share some of the responsibility with getting everyone fed, and enjoying the time off. So that's what I get into. And
How many
in
people are
Texas
you
we
cooking
do
for?
not a lot, not a lot. Just I have three boys, so there's five
That's a
of
lot.
us, and then we have others over too. So, a few, but it's not like a massive party. But I was just going to say, in Texas, we do a lot of smoking of our meat. So I do have a smoker that I try to fire up, a couple times a year. I don't get to use it as much as I want to, but that's the time when I'm doing like a brisket or something in Texas.
Yeah, my brother-in-law smokes meat as well, and he's always in charge of cooking like Thanksgiving dinner and family meals.
There you
He's
go.
like, I always
Yeah.
laugh because when I went there for Thanksgiving last month, my sister is in the kitchen and it's her house as well, and she's like, I don't know where anything is.
Wait. So
I
is
was
he in
like,
Texas? Is that
no,
where
he's in
you?
New York.
But you did mention you were going to be in Dallas sometime soon, right?
So I was in Texas for
Okay.
a work engagement, but no. I'm gonna be going to ICAC in Orlando.
Okay.
And the only reason I
Well,
bring that up is Florida, Texas, they're about the same.
yeah. Kind of, yeah. No state income tax, which is kind of cool. Um,
There's a lot of
yeah,
similarities.
similar lifestyles. Yeah, there's a lot of similar lifestyles that you get from those two states. But next time you are in Dallas, Texas, I hope you do return the favor, because I do my podcast in person there at the Right Forensics office in the Dallas
Oh,
Metroplex.
absolutely.
So if you're ever in the area, I'd like to have you on the show.
Oh, I would be honored to be on the show. And I don't know how I am live in person, so good luck.
I'm
Hopefully
sure
I'm
you'll
like
be
this
great.
calm and chill.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I expect you will be.
yeah, I've noticed a lot of people when they're answering the holiday tradition question, it's all focused around food. So
Is it?
we're all
Yeah, I
focused
guess that
around
makes sense.
meals. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Well,
got to
because I
get
think
away
a
from
lot
the
of times,
computer
like,
and
there's a lot of specialty, yeah, there's a lot of special foods that people only cook for certain
right.
holidays that people look forward to all year. So for me,
Yeah.
it's cookies.
Well, you know what? I've been doing a lot this year. I'm almost ashamed to admit, is that I've been buying a lot of stuff from TikTok Shop. I'm like obsessed with TikTok Shop. If I had to reveal any
Are
secret
you?
of mine on your show, yeah, I'm like, you know how like Amazon shopping was the thing? That's like too expensive and too old school. TikTok Shop is worth that until it's banned in February.
Oh my gosh. So wait, so what is the most interesting thing you purchased recently from there? And were you disappointed when it showed up?
I had not been as disappointed as many would expect. Like, I mean, even on Amazon, it's pretty high quality nowadays, but so TikTok's the new like cheap Chinese stuff, but you'll be surprised.
Yeah.
There's some stuff on there that's really like good quality for a really inexpensive price. It's like Amazon's too expensive now. But
I have been like finding these videos of people who are severely disappointed. Like they bought a couch
oh
off
really?
TikTok and it was $100 and it's like the size of like a little kid couch and they're expecting like a full size couch. I'm like, well, it
I
was a
bought
hundred bucks
a
thanks too.
Yeah, I bought a carry-on suitcase that I was disappointed with. So there's certain things I think to stay away from because it's going to come and be underwhelming. But like I bought some Crocs, some knockoff Crocs on there the other day, and I was like so happy with them. I'm like, I'm gonna wear these all the time. Do you own a pair of Crocs?
I don't. I do
Yeah,
not.
they look stupid, but they're super comfortable. They're amazing, and there's like the new flip-flops. Yeah, you gotta get into those
It's
Crocs.
actually really big in the bodybuilding community. People love their
Okay.
Crocs and they're like wearing
Oh
them to the
yeah.
gym and I'm like, I can't.
You can't do it
But
yet.
I also don't work out barefoot. Like most of those people are taking their shoes off and like squatting
Oh, that's
barefoot or
dangerous.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't for a lot of reasons I can't. But yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
no, I don't own a pair. I'll have to look at
Oh,
these
okay.
knockoff ones. You'll have to send me the link before
I send you the
February.
link afterwards. Yeah, before it's offline. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for having like being a part of this community and just like having an open
Yeah.
conversation with me about all of the things. I really, really appreciate it. And you're a
No,
wonderful
thank you.
guest. So hopefully I'll be in Texas here soon and we can figure out
We'll do it
another
again.
episode.
Yeah.
Maybe we can just shop TikTok, shop, just like go
Yeah,
through
we can show
different
people
things.
that'll be our thing.
It'll be a product review.
I
So,
have done a few of those before. Yeah.
oh
All
my
right, Amy. Yeah,
goodness.
you are an amazing host. Thanks for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
All right.